Part 1. The box I wasn't supposed to open. I found the dress by accident. It was a Tuesday. Rainy, forgettable. I was in the basement looking for an old box of winter coats when I knocked over a stack of storage bins. One of them popped open. Inside, a white garment bag. Sealed. Untouched. At first, I didn't think anything of it. We'd been married for 5 years. Maybe it was hers. Maybe she kept it for sentiment. I wasn't sure why she'd never told me she kept it down here, but it didn't feel strange until I unzipped it. The dress wasn't hers. It was older, yellowed slightly at the edges, a completely different style from what she wore when we got married. And inside the garment bag, carefully folded beneath the dress, was a handwritten note. It wasn't addressed to her. It was addressed to Sophie. That's not her name. I held the note in my hands like it was a live wire. It was short. No date. You looked perfect in this. I still can't believe what you did. I would have married you anyway. J. Just an initial. No full name. No clues. And yet, something in my gut knew it mattered. I refolded the note and stared at the dress for a long time. Sophie. Who was she? And why was this in our basement? That evening, I didn't say anything. She made pasta, poured wine, talked about her coworker's baby shower. I listened, nodded, smiled even, but all I could think about was the dress, the note, the name. I waited until we were getting ready for bed. She was brushing her hair when I asked, "Do you know anyone named Sophie?" She froze, barely, but I saw it. A single second of stillness that told me everything. Then she said, "No." "Why?" "Just wondering," I said. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Random question. I nodded, kissed her goodnight, and lay awake for hours. Because I knew she lied, and I had no idea why. Part 2. Her eyes said more than her words. The next day, the dress wouldn't leave my mind. I told myself I should let it go. Everyone has a past. Everyone keeps things they can't quite explain. Maybe Sophie was a cousin, a friend, a mistake. Maybe the note meant nothing, but it felt like something. I couldn't stop replaying the look on her face, the subtle freeze, the micro-expression that flickered just before she answered. You don't fake the kind of reaction unless there's something real underneath. That night, I went back to the basement. The dress was still there, zipped up again neatly, like I'd never touched it. But the note was gone. I tore through the bin, searching every corner, every fold. Empty. She had moved it, which meant she knew I'd found it. At breakfast, she was calm. Too calm. She poured my coffee, asked about my workday, smiled the way she always did when she wanted things to feel normal. But there was a pause in her voice, a delay behind every answer, like she was buffering. Finally, I asked her again. "Sophie." She blinked once. "What about her? You do know her." She set her mug down slowly. "I didn't say that." "Yes, you did. Last night." She didn't deny it this time. She just looked down at her mug. "I didn't think you'd ever find that," she said. My pulse picked up. "Find what?" She stood up, walked to the sink, took a breath like she was about to dive underwater. She was me. I didn't understand at first. "What do you mean?" She turned to face me. "I changed my name." The room went silent. "I was engaged," she said. "Before I met you. Before I was me." I leaned back, stunned. "Engaged?" She nodded. "His name was Jack. I was 23. I went by Sophie then. My middle name. Everyone called me that. I could barely speak. And the wedding?" She looked away. "I never showed up." I tried to process what she'd just told me. "You left him?" "Yes." "Without saying anything?" She swallowed hard. "I wrote a letter. But it didn't explain enough. I didn't have the words. I was quiet for a long time." "Why?" She met my eyes then, and for the first time I saw something raw. Not guilt. Not fear. Shame. "Because I didn't love him," she said. "Not the way he loved me. And I was too much of a coward to face what that would do to him. So I disappeared." That night, I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling. I knew what I should feel: compassion, understanding, even sadness for the version of her that had once been so afraid she ran from her own life. But what I felt was distance. Because if she could leave a man at the altar and erase herself with a name change, what else was she capable of running from? The next morning, I found a new note tucked into my coat pocket, written in her handwriting. "I told you my name was Lily because I wanted to start over. I never meant to lie. I just wanted to become someone worth staying for." I folded it slowly, and wondered if I was already someone she might one day run from too. Part 3. The man who still wrote to her. The note changed something in me. I wasn't angry, not really. But I felt unsteady. Like the ground beneath our marriage had always been softer than I thought. Like I'd built a life on the version of her she chose to show me, not the one she had been. And now I had questions I didn't know how to ask. Did she ever love Jack, even a little? Did she regret leaving him? And was I simply the reward for her running? A week passed. We went through the motions, coffee in the morning, small talk in the evenings, an occasional laugh that felt more like a habit than joy. She never brought it up again, and I didn't push. But I started watching her more closely. The way she looked at her phone. How often she checked the mailbox. And then one day, while taking out the recycling, I saw it. A letter. Unopened. No return address. Just her old name printed in neat handwriting, Sophie. I shouldn't have touched it. But I did. I took it upstairs. Stood in the hallway outside the bathroom where she was showering. And I opened it. Inside. You were the first thing I ever believed in. I waited for you. I still do. I don't think I can stop. J. Just an initial again. But I didn't need more. Jack was still writing to her. When she came out of the bathroom, I was holding the envelope. She saw it instantly. Paused in the doorway, towel in hand, face pale. You opened it, she said. You hid it. She didn't speak. I held it up. He still writes to you? She nodded slowly. Every year. Same date. I looked at the postmark. June 14th. What's the date? Our would-be anniversary. I couldn't breathe for a second. And you never told him to stop? Her eyes filled. I thought he'd give up. That he'd move on. But he didn't. And every time he writes, I feel like I stole something I can't give back. I didn't know what hurt more, that she kept the letters or that she never once thought to tell me about them. Do you write him back? I asked. No, she said immediately. Never. But you read them. Yes. I stepped back. And what do you feel when you do? She looked like she might break. Grief. For him. For me, she whispered. For the girl I was. For the things I never got to fix. That night, I went back to the basement. I took the dress out of the bag and laid it across the table. It was delicate. Simple. Classic. The kind of dress someone would wear if they didn't want to draw attention, if they wanted the moment to be quiet, meaningful. Pure. It wasn't her anymore. But it had been. And for the first time, I wondered if part of her still was. The next morning, I found another letter on the table. Unopened. Same handwriting. Same name, Sophie. But this time it was addressed to me. Part 4. The letter I was never meant to read. It wasn't just the fact that the letter was addressed to me. It was the way it was left, right there on the table, perfectly centered, as if she wanted me to find it but didn't have the courage to hand it to me herself. The handwriting was the same, Jack's. I sat down, heart pounding, and opened it. To the man she chose. I don't know your name. I don't want to. It would make this feel too real. Too personal. But I know you exist, and that means something. She left me the morning of our wedding. I woke up thinking I'd see her walk down the aisle. Instead, I got silence. I got nothing. And in the years since, I've tried to move on. I've tried everything, distance, therapy, other women. But no one else ever felt like the beginning. She was the first time I believed in the idea of forever. If she's with you, maybe you're the man she needed. Maybe you helped her become someone who doesn't run. But if she ever looks like she's drifting, if you ever feel her slipping away, please don't let her go quietly. Please don't let her disappear again. Not from this life. She was always more fragile than she let on. Take care of her. J. My hands shook as I folded it back up. It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was a plea. From a man still tethered to a ghost. I sat there in silence for a long time, unsure whether to be furious or heartbroken. Because the truth was, I saw it too, the fragility. In the way Lily sometimes stared too long at nothing. In the way her voice dropped when talking about the past. In the way she smiled just a little too hard when she wanted me to think everything was fine. She walked in an hour later. Stopped cold when she saw me holding the letter. You read it, she said, voice quiet. You left it for me. She didn't answer. I stood up slowly, stepped toward her. Why did he write it to me? Because I asked him to. The air shifted. I stared at her. You, what? I wrote him back, she said. For the first time. Last year. I stepped back, pulse spiking. You said you never did. I know. I lied. Her eyes were wet now, but she didn't wipe them. I didn't write to rekindle anything. I wrote to tell him I was okay. That I'd moved on. That I was married and safe and happy. She paused. But I also told him I still think about what I did. And he asked me in his reply if he could write to you. Just once. And I said yes. I looked down at the letter in my hands again. He's still in love with you, I said. I know, she whispered. But I'm not in love with him. It should have comforted me. But it didn't. Because love isn't just about who you're holding now. It's about who still lives in the quiet parts of your heart. And I didn't know how much of her still belonged to me. That night, we didn't sleep in the same bed. Not because we fought, but because we were strangers again, carefully orbiting each other, pretending the gravity between us hadn't shifted. And somewhere in the dark, I asked myself a question I wasn't ready to answer. If she could run from one life, what's stopping her from running again? Part 5, the road she almost took again. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. Not quite lost, just unsure of the direction anymore. Lily went about her routines. Quiet, gentle, unassuming, the way she always had. But now every silence felt loaded. Every smile like a performance. I watched her more than I should have. I watched the way she'd stop to stare out the window a little too long. The way she'd check the mailbox twice. The way her eyes shifted when I entered the room, like she was worried I'd become someone else too. We didn't talk about the letter again. But I thought about it every night. A week later, I came home early from work. I wasn't sure why, I just felt like I had to. Her car was in the driveway. The front door unlocked. And on the kitchen table, her purse, her phone, and a printed bus ticket. To a town 2 hours north. Departure, 6:15 p.m. Passenger, Sophie J. I stood there for a long time just staring at it. It was 5:47 p.m. Not enough time to ask, only enough to follow. I drove without thinking. Just movement. Got to the bus station at 6:11. And there she was. Standing by the curb. Holding a bag. Alone. She didn't see me at first. She looked like she was waiting for something or someone, but her expression was unreadable. I parked and walked over slowly. When she turned and saw me, she didn't flinch. She just exhaled. I wasn't going to go, she said softly. I didn't speak. I just needed to see if I still could. We stood in silence, the roar of buses behind us. I was going to a hotel, she continued. That's all. I swear. I wasn't meeting him. I didn't even tell him. But you printed the ticket, I said. She nodded. Because part of me still lives on the edge of a runaway. She stepped closer. I wasn't going to leave you. I just needed to see what it felt like to make a decision and not take it. My throat was tight. My hands cold. So what stopped you? She looked up at me. You did. That night, we drove home together in silence. And when we got inside, she handed me the wedding dress. The old one. I don't want to keep this anymore, she said. I think I was waiting for someone to forgive me. But that's not your job. Or his. Whose job is it? I asked. She looked at me with eyes that were no longer hiding. Mine. She burned it in the fireplace. Folded it neatly. Layer by layer. And watched it go to ash. Part 6, the name she chose to keep. After the dress was gone, something in the air shifted. Not immediately, not like a door swinging open, but slowly. Like fog thinning at sunrise. We didn't say much that night. She curled against me in bed, and for the first time in weeks, her breathing slowed in rhythm with mine. No dreams. No distance. Just stillness. But the next morning, over coffee, I asked the question I'd been holding since the bus station. Do you ever miss being Sophie? She looked up slowly. Thought for a long time before answering. I miss who she was supposed to become. I nodded. And who are you now? She smiled, but it was small, quiet. Someone I'm still learning to trust. Later that day, I went through our shared filing cabinet to update some forms. I wasn't snooping, just life admin. But in the folder marked legal documents, something caught my eye. Her name change certificate. I hadn't seen it before. Not because she hid it, it was just filed away like anything else. But one detail made me pause. She didn't just drop the name Sophie. She dropped her last name too. And her middle name. She'd chosen an entirely new identity. Lily Jameson. None of it was her birth name. I asked her that night. You changed everything, I said gently. Not just Sophie. She didn't deny it. I needed to become someone new. Someone who hadn't broken a heart or abandoned a man at an altar or run. But you never told me that. I didn't think I had to. I thought if I became her long enough, maybe I was her. I swallowed hard. And now? I don't want to hide anymore, she said. Then she reached into her nightstand and pulled out a sealed envelope. This was the last letter he sent me, she said. From a year ago. I didn't open it. I took it from her hands. It was still sealed. I think you should read it, she said. I opened it slowly. Inside. Sophie, if you're reading this, I hope you've forgiven yourself. I have. I really have. I stopped waiting years ago, not because I stopped loving you, but because I finally understood that love can't beg to stay. It either does or it doesn't. I hope you became someone who feels worthy of the future. And if he loves you truly, I hope you let him. Jack. I folded the letter, my chest heavy and warm all at once. When I looked up, she was crying, but quietly. Not out of sorrow. Relief. She whispered, I think I'm ready to be loved fully now. And for the first time, I believed her. Part 7. What stayed and what left. After that night, we began to rebuild. Slowly. Not the way people patch up a hole and pretend it never happened, but brick by brick. Intentionally. Carefully. There were no more secrets. No more sealed letters. Lily kept the last one from Jack in a drawer, not to reread, but as a marker. Like a gravestone for the life she never lived. But healing isn't clean. It isn't linear. And just when I thought we'd finally stepped beyond the wreckage, something else surfaced. It was a Sunday afternoon. Warm, golden light filled the house. I was folding laundry when I heard the knock at the door. 2 sharp taps. Then silence. Lily was in the shower. I opened it without thinking. The man on the other side was in his early 40s. Clean-shaven. Slim. A scar beneath his left eye. He looked like someone who used to be handsome, in a way that had hardened over time. He didn't introduce himself. He just said, "Is she here?" I stared at him. "Who are you?" He tilted his head. "She'll know." I didn't move. My grip tightened on the edge of the door. "She's not available. I'll wait." "You're not welcome." He didn't argue. He just reached into his jacket, pulled out a small envelope, and handed it to me. "I won't bother her again." Then he turned and walked down the steps, disappearing before I could even close the door. I knew who it was. I didn't need a signature. Didn't need a return address. Jack. When Lily came down and saw the envelope in my hand, she froze. "He was here." I nodded. Her face was unreadable. "I told him not to," she whispered. I handed her the letter. "He said he wouldn't come back." She looked down at the envelope, then over at me. "Do you want me to open it?" "I want you to do what feels honest." She nodded and tore it open. The letter was short. "This is the last one. I needed to see with my own eyes that you were real, happy, whole, and you are. I have nothing left to ask. I hope that gives you peace. Goodbye, Jay." She folded it, hands steady, then dropped it into the fire. We watched it burn together. No words, just the sound of something ending, finally. That night, she crawled into bed beside me and pressed her forehead to my chest. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was competing with a memory. Part 8, the version of us that survived. 1 year passed. We didn't mark the day she left him. We didn't celebrate it or grieve it. But we remembered in the quiet way people remember things they've lived through. Things that left scars but not open wounds. Lily changed over the year. She smiled more easily. Laughed without checking if it was okay. She stopped flinching at her reflection. Stopped staring at her phone like it held ghosts. And I changed too. I stopped trying to be the man she'd prove herself to. And just started being the man she could rest beside. Sometimes I still think about the first letter. The one I found in the basement. The dress. The name. I think about how close I came to losing her, not because she was leaving me, but because part of her had never fully arrived. Because she was still halfway between Sophie and Lily. Halfway between the girl who ran and the woman who stayed. One morning, I woke up to find her sitting by the window with a small notebook in her lap. She looked peaceful. Like she'd been writing something private and tender. I sat beside her and without a word, she handed me the book. On the first page, "To the man I didn't know I needed." I didn't read the rest. Not yet. I closed it gently and held her hand instead. We sold the house that fall. Moved into a cottage near the water. Nothing fancy, just a place with light in every room and no basement to hide things in. We built a new life. No more anniversaries built on lies. No more names she couldn't claim. No more versions of her that only existed in shadows. Sometimes when the rain comes down hard and the world feels heavy again, I ask her if she misses who she was. She always answers the same way. "I miss her less every time you hold me." And that's what love became for us. Not a beginning. Not a rescue. But a decision every single day to stay. To tell the truth. And to walk forward together even if it means carrying what we almost left behind.